Did anyone see any of these guys on the way in today? How about the mess that they make under the trees? Lots of debris everywhere. This is the forest red-tailed black-cockatoo. These days, they're commonly seen in gardens, parks, bushlands, all over Perth. 15 years ago, this wasn't the case. As evidenced by their name, the forest redtail was once restricted to the Jarrah forests, to the east of Perth, up in the hills. My PhD research has been looking at what this charismatic threatened species has been doing and why it's expanded its range to include the busy, highly urbanised Perth metropolitan region. Over the past 2 years, I've spent over 1,200 hours out in the field chasing cockatoos all over Perth and the Jarrah forest, trying to work out what they're doing. And while they might not be hanging out in Subiaco sipping lattes, they are here for another urban amenity: food. So in the forest, the cockatoos mostly feed on the seeds of the native marri tree. But to get to the seeds, they first have to extract them from the large, tough gum nuts seen here in photo 2. Perth locals might know them as honky nuts, and you might recognise them from bushworks, or maybe you've even had a cockatoo drop one on your head sometime. Through behavioural video analysis, I've actually found that it can take an experienced cockatoo up to 2.5 minutes to extract the seeds from a marri nut. Doesn't seem too bad, does it? Well, compare that to the seeds of the Cape lilac, an exotic ornamental street tree commonly planted in Perth streets and gardens. And looking at photo number 3, you can see that Cape lilac fruit is much, much smaller than marri. And it only takes the cockatoos about 6 seconds to process these fruits. That's 25 times faster than marri. No wonder it's the cockatoo's favourite urban food. I like to compare this to a human, not a cockatoo, a human trying to eat a rock melon or a bunch of grapes using only their mouth. Which would you choose? I've also found evidence to suggest that the Cape lilac seeds contain a much higher energy content than marri, which means that by feeding on Cape lilac, the cockatoos can spend less time feeding for a much higher energy return. Now, these birds live for up to 50 years, so the long-term effects of urban living on the population are very difficult to determine and will require much, much more research. But for now, I welcome my new neighbours and I enjoy their company, even if they do make a huge mess in my garden. Thank you.